have to my left Jovan Ratkovic, Senior Fellow at Agora Strategy Group, Germany, but with a long career going back to Serbia and Serbian politics, advising presidents of Serbia. In fact, I think the former president of Serbia is here today with us, right? Mr. Tadic, and later on will speak to the conference you were telling me. And we have Professor Amina Mohsin, former professor at the Department of International Relations right here, Dhaka University. She headed that department. She also taught at North-South University, was attached, teaching at North-South University. So having introduced ourselves, I think, let me quickly read out the description of what the mandate is of the session. As CGS elaborated, in a region where economic and military interests overlap, the Indo-Pacific has become a hotspot of strategic rivalry and evolving alliances. This panel will discuss the foreign policy challenges faced by countries navigating between competing influences, such as from the US, China, and regional players like Japan and Australia. Using examples like the Quad, US, Japan, India, Australia, and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, panelists will explore how countries can foster connectivity and strengthen security partnerships while managing the complexities of geopolitical competition. Good, I think I'll leave it at that. Professor, may we start in reverse order? You can, I think, give some opening comments. We have till what time, Deepanjali? Till 11, I see, no? No. Till? 10:40, got it. So we have 45 minutes. Maybe we can do 10 minutes each, right? And then we'll open up and listen to you to come in with comments and your thoughts also from the audience.
A very good morning to all of you and welcome to Dhaka, Bangladesh. Since in this podium I'm the only Bangladeshi who's sitting over here. So let me give you a very warm welcome to this very warm city. Actually, you know, like we all are, I think that three of us are a bit confused because it was supposed to be a round of questions to be asked by the moderator. But since I don't know, for some reason the moderator is not with us, so we have taken it upon us to open up the session. And as Constantino pointed out, that it is about the challenges of foreign policy that countries in the region, particularly countries like foreign policy challenges that we are facing. And I'll be talking mostly about, from my location as a Bangladeshi, how I see or perceive, like Bangladesh moving ahead in a region which is hinged on broad, frameworks, frameworks, what we call RCEP, or whether you call it Quad, or whether it's principles of open and free Indo-Pacific. So let me begin with the idea of Quad a little bit. From Bangladesh's perspective, I think, also at this point of time, I would also like to make clear that as we are all well aware that we have an interim regime in Bangladesh at the moment, and we do see more or less a continuity of the foreign policy. And for countries like Bangladesh, I think our priorities are always, primarily because Bangladesh is a non-aligned country, that is a fundamental foreign policy pillar of this country. And our priorities, I think, would always hinge on prioritizing the economic diplomacy, or how we move ahead with economics. Of course, security remains a major concern, but when we talk about security, it would be primarily human security, hinged upon, and which hinges upon economic security also. And when we talk about, open, and we, as the July uprising has shown that the which I have been arguing for a very long time, that one has to factor in the political culture of a country also. And Bangladesh's political culture somehow has never accepted anything being imposed, or, you know, or a system which the general people perceived to be not democratic. You know, I wouldn't say, because for us, just having merely having elections is not, it is of course an important yardstick of democracy, but also, you know, the freedom of speech is very fundamental to us. And the openness, these are issues. I mean, one just could not, I mean, one can't compare one region with the other. So the political culture is very important, and this is a country which has always had different kinds of movements, and students' movements have been an integral part of Bangladesh's history and legacy. Keeping all these in mind, you know, I'm talking about, when we talk about a free Indo-Pacific, I mean, my students often ask me these questions, that how free, I mean, what do we mean by free Indo-Pacific? Is it inclusive enough? Are we excluding important actors? And the perception is very strong that Quad is an alliance which, you know, like as I said, that there are two, if I'm to talk about the two majors, because we are talking also about RCEP, so two frameworks, you know, upon which the not only the security but also power politics of this region hinges, if I may say so. So for Bangladesh, I think Bangladesh would like to keep its options open. You can think of different, when we talk of Quad, definitely different questions come to mind. And also India's position, India's role is also critical for Bangladesh. I'm not making any value judgments at this point over here. But also the Middle East theater is open to us. And you know, like how the US positions itself and how the new administration in the US would be looking at the situation in the Middle East, that is very critical for us.
Professor, just one question I have that many people ask. Maybe I think you mentioned continuity in Bangladesh foreign policy, but do you see Bangladesh being comfortable dealing with India today, for example? Because we hear two voices, right? We hear often people saying there's too much India here, we have sold out our sovereignty, we're buying too much power. You hear that on one hand. On the other hand, we have a SEPA that needs to be signed by 2026, maybe 29. And there's a logic of interdependence that you cannot be denied, right? Of geography that requires Dhaka and Delhi to find.
Of course, you know, like when I say that, you know, there's an element of continuity. I mean, Constantine, I can pose the same question to you, that if India is comfortable dealing with Bangladesh today, and I mean, that is a big question for us, given the kind of media reports that are coming out. I know that there have been a lot of discussion on it yesterday, but still, I mean, this is a sore point for us. And in Bangladesh, I agree, this perception exists. And I think there are valid reasons behind it also, that India has been largely regime-centric when it deals with Bangladesh. So we would, and this is one point that I have made consistently, that if we can, I mean, if in Bangladesh we can accept democratic, again I repeat the word, democratic transitions in India, you know, India should also be able to accept that. And I understand the security concerns that India has. I do take that into cognizance. But I also do believe that given our past experiences, I think any regime taking over power in, I'm saying any regime, power in Bangladesh would be sensitive to India's security concerns in future, and it needs to be sensitive about it because, as you very rightly pointed out, that we are neighbors, and there is so much. I mean, at the cultural level, there is so much interflow. I mean, it's part of the same civilization. And if you look at the kind of medical tourism, the kind of cultural exchanges that the countries have, even our national anthem, has been written by Tagore, who we consider to be not to be an Indian poet, but like someone, a Bengali, and someone with a global stature. So, I mean, I wouldn't say Bengali, I would say someone with a global stature. So, we will be sensitive towards India's security concerns, but at the same time, India also needs to be sensitive to the perceptions and to the democratic aspirations of the people in Bangladesh. I'm afraid that had not been the case in the past. If we look at the, I'll just finish over here. If you look at the past elections, I mean, we perhaps we would not have been in this situation had there been, people, if people could have exercised their voting rights freely.
Thank you,
Thank
Professor, for the measured, I think, long-term view you're bringing to India-Bangladesh relations. Just one, if I can take 3 more minutes. I think something that has puzzled me often is how Bangladesh has dealt in the past few years with 2 big other partners we haven't talked about. One, China. The other one, the Quad. You mentioned the Quad. I remember the Chinese ambassador warning Bangladesh about the dangers of getting even close to the Quad right here in Dhaka. There was some concerns among people saying, why is the Chinese ambassador commenting? But comparing that reaction to the reaction to the idea that, in fact, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs eventually developed into a sort of an Indo-Pacific policy
Outlook,
which created a huge debate, as you know. What does it tell us? Is there more of an allergy towards the Quad, Indo-Pacific here, than to China telling you don't do this, don't do that, or just do BRI?
I think I've been using this word strategic autonomy. So I think Bangladesh would continue to exercise its strategic autonomy. And if you look at that's why when I made my opening remarks, I was talking about, like skepticism in Bangladesh about these words, open, free, all these words. And despite the fact that, China took China's stance in 1971, if you look at the popular perception in Bangladesh, I'm sorry, I don't have the figures with me right now. I mean, but China is not perceived as an imperialist power. China is not perceived as a power which is hostile to Bangladesh. So, and that matters, So, I think Bangladesh would, I don't want to use the word balancing or hedging. I would say that Bangladesh would continue to navigate and maintain its autonomy and would like to be part of both RCEP and which, Bangladesh has expressed its intent that it would like to be a partner of RCEP very recently, I think in October. And also Bangladesh would want to be, not even if not directly aligned, but like part of the Quad system because of as I said, it's strategic autonomy. For countries like Bangladesh, we have it's not about lack of options, but I think the best option is that you continue to have a kind of a multilateral diplomacy where you have friends around you. And we would like to see very friendly relations with with India, definitely. And US, we have very good relations with the United States. There is no denying of that. But as I said, pointed out earlier, that when we talk about free and open Indo-Pacific, this is something not only I have in my mind, but because I have been teaching for a long time in a public university, and I often fall back to my students that now I teach at a private university. I've seen that, these questions keep on emerging, and our future lies with the youth, and they keep on asking these questions, and particularly with the war in the Middle East, I think these questions would keep on emerging over and over again, that what does free and open maritime regime mean? And with different kind of embargoes, sanctions, and the Iran question also keeps on cropping up. I'm just, throwing these points because, as I pointed out earlier, that the political culture is very important, and we have to factor in the political culture of Bangladesh. These are important elements. Thank you.
No, thank you for bringing up the perceptions on the streets, popular perceptions of foreign policy or political culture. I did a study on how Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka think about the Quad, perceptions-wise.
Yes.
And I was struck that it was very negative. This was a security balancing mechanism somehow. I could not find a single address by current former officials, think tank is saying we should have a decent working relationship with these four powers, or the Indo-Pacific is an interesting, good concept. And contrasting, of course, the BRI is a purely economic, developmental initiative, is very positive views. Anyway, I think it comes, we may disagree with that. We may disagree, of course. I think some of you will disagree with that in this room. But the point is the perceptions are what they are. And I think, thank you for bringing it up, that is something we have to work through, whoever it is, different.
But I'm not sure if the word decent was there.
On the BRI?
No, on Quad.
Decent? No, I meant critical. Highly critical.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's why I said that, because when the questions are constantly asked about what does one mean by free, open, maritime regimes, when there are so many exclusions. So these are issues that come to mind. But definitely BRI and RCEP are looked upon as, these are economic partnerships or infrastructure. And as I said, that in popular mind, that perception exists. I think someone else.
And that's why I guess also in the Quad we now have a lot of discussions, interestingly. I wonder if it's a response to this public perception of the Quad members, which is focusing on public goods. You see the last 2-3 years of Quad investing and delivering on technology, good governance, AI, climate, there's infrastructure working group. But I think Bangladesh is a very interesting place to look at these things because you said there is this strategy of autonomy through diversification of different partners. Strategic autonomy through diversification, right? So I just lost my job, which I'm happy. I can return to my speaking role because I think we have I forgot your name, sorry. Javed, who just joined us, who's the moderator. Yes. So we have heard of the last 14 minutes from Professor Mohsin on Bangladesh perspective. I think the idea was then for Jovan to speak a bit about Europe's role in the Indo-Pacific, and I'll bring in also the regional perspective on that's where we are currently. So over to you. We end at 10:40, so we have another half an hour.
I am Javad Heirania from Middle Eastern Studies Center from Iran, and very welcome to this session. And esteemed professor, very welcome to this session. Let me ask some questions from esteemed professor regarding the Indo-Pacific region. We are in a transitional world order, and for this reason, I would like to ask all of you some question in this context. So, Professor Juvan, what's the meaning of a transitional world order for the regional powers? And will they be able to play in this order in a way that be safe from intense competition between China and the United States?
Thank you. Professor Amena already spoke about position of Bangladesh in that respect. So I will briefly mention some of priorities and some of activities of European Union in this region. And of course, European Union has a lot of room to step up its activities, especially implementation of its Indo-Pacific strategy that was adopted in April 2021. And it was complemented by a global strategy of European Union, so-called Strategic Compass, that was adopted a year later. And let us remind that in that Strategic Compass, China has been named as systemic rival, economic competitor, but at the same time partner in cooperation with European Union. And from adoption of those documents, there have been annual meetings of leaders, usually at ministerial level, between European Union and Indo-Pacific. The latest one happened this February in Brussels. Before that, they were held in Paris and in Stockholm. Here in Bangladesh, there is a group of 8 member states of European Union, together with Switzerland, that is cooperating closely with European Union, although not being a member, and European Investment Bank, trying to help Bangladesh in different areas. And European Union has set aside for past 4 years more than 300 million euros of grants for different projects in Bangladesh from its so-called Neighborhood Development and International Cooperation Instrument. Of course, a lot is left to be desired when it comes to implementation of these strategies. European Union also launched negotiations with Bangladesh on a new partnership and cooperation agreement, which is going, of course, to increase cooperation between Bangladesh and European Union and bring it to the more strategic level. So, I mean, my first advice, of course, for European Union would be to complete those negotiations as soon as possible and to sign this agreement. Of course, Bangladesh is in need of a lot of financial aid. Some of that aid, of course, is hopefully going to come from European Union's bank, European Investment Bank. But of course, European Union should politically be more active with the World Bank and with IMF to also make sure that those international financial institutions are aiding the interim government of Bangladesh. There are many other areas where European Union could offer concrete support to Bangladesh in this first phase of democratic transition. It includes, of course, judiciary reform, security reform, strengthening electoral commission here in Bangladesh, making sure that there is a diversity in procurement of military equipment that Bangladesh is definitely going to need. You are aware, of course, that there is a program of strengthening Bangladeshi armed forces until 2030. And of course, it is in interest of Bangladesh to diversify sources of those weapons. At the moment, more than 70% of weapons that Bangladesh is purchasing is actually coming from one source, and that is China. So, of course, there is a strategic need for Bangladesh to basically diversify those purchases. It is also important to stress that apart from strategy of European Union on Indo-Pacific, there are 3 member states of European Union that have its own strategies on this region. And those countries are France, Germany, and Netherlands. They also have military presence in this region. After United Kingdom left European Union, France is the only European country that has its permanent presence in this part of the world. Of course, it has a lot of exclusive economic zones. It has its overseas departments and territories in this part of the world. But of course, Germany and Netherlands are strengthening